First contact shockwave. Space rippled like disturbed water as the massive human warship Defiant Dawn tore through the quantum fabric between stars. The vessel's titanium obsidian hull stretched nearly 3 kilometers long as it emerged from the dimensional fold directly into the bustling center of the galactic core. The ship's sudden arrival sent immediate waves of panic through the local traffic. Smaller vessels scattered in all directions, their engines flaring brilliant against the backdrop of the central stars. Ambassador Ilara Chen stood at the command center viewport, her hands clasped behind her back as she watched the chaos unfold. She couldn't suppress a slight smile. The alien reaction was precisely what Earth Command had predicted. After all, humans weren't supposed to have ships this advanced. Not yet. Ambassador, we're receiving emergency broadcasts from 17 different species, reported Communications Officer Liam Asher from his station. Most are demanding identification. Several are ordering immediate withdrawal from the restricted zone. Chen nodded, taking a measured breath. Let them wait. Sometimes silence speaks louder than any transmission. Through the viewport, she could see the gleaming spires of the galactic core's famous orbital habitats. Their crystal towers and gravity-defying architectures had been designed to showcase the pinnacle of cosmic civilization. Today, those same stations were frantically activating defense grids, patterns of energy shields flowing across their surfaces like liquid light. Multiple vessels approaching, announced Tactical Officer Miyasato. I count 32 ships of various configurations, all maintaining weapons cold, but formation is decidedly defensive. Chen checked the mission chronometer. Earth Command had calculated this reaction as well. In approximately 45 seconds, the local authorities would discover that their standard sensor arrays couldn't penetrate the Defiant Dawn's quantum-locked hull. That would really set off alarms. Right on schedule, new alert signals began flashing across local space. The alien vessels tightened their formation, creating a loose sphere around the human warship. Their bewilderment was almost tangible. Nothing in their database could explain how a primitive human vessel could block their most sophisticated scans. Ambassador, direct communication request from the Galactic Council chambers. Asher called out. Priority Alpha Channel. Put it through, Chen ordered, straightening her formal diplomatic uniform with its subtle Earth insignia. The main display shifted to reveal a being composed of interlocking geometric crystals. That Axildary representative's transparent body pulsed with waves of crimson light, a clear indication of agitation among its kind. Behind it stood representatives of various council species, all attempting to maintain dignity despite their obvious alarm. Unidentified human vessel, the Axildary's translation matrix hummed. You have violated restricted space with an unregistered warship of impossible specifications. Explain your presence immediately or face immediate sanctions. Chen stepped forward, her boots making a soft sound on the polished deck. She had rehearsed this moment countless times, but the reality felt more satisfying than any simulation. This is Ambassador Ilara Chen, representing the United Earth Government aboard the UES Defiant Dawn. We come in peace, though our vessel's capabilities should make it clear we can defend ourselves if necessary. The Axildary representative's body flashed with patterns of blue and yellow. Confusion and disbelief. Impossible, it responded. Human technology is at minimum 8 decades from achieving quantum fold capabilities. Your species barely mastered gravitational manipulation 5 years ago. That's what we wanted you to believe, Chen replied calmly. While the Galactic Council was busy dismissing humanity as an emerging civilization, we were working diligently. I have formal diplomatic recognition codes and council visitation protocols transmitted through proper channels. I suggest you verify them. The command center fell silent as the alien representatives huddled together, checking data streams on their interfaces. Chen could pinpoint the exact moment they found the authorization codes. Their collective postures shifted from confrontational to uncertain. Humanity had followed all proper procedures while completely upending the established power dynamic. The codes are valid. The exiled representative acknowledged reluctantly, its voice carrying a new tone of respect. But this fundamentally alters the established order. The order has already changed, Chen finished. Now shall we discuss why Earth truly sent us here? I assure you, making a dramatic entrance was merely the prelude to our actual mission. The alien representatives exchanged nervous glances. In less than an hour, humanity had shattered centuries of galactic hierarchy, and Ambassador Ilara Chen knew this was only the beginning. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with unprecedented energy as hundreds of representatives rushed to their positions. The emergency session had been called mere hours after the Defiant Dawn's arrival, and Ilara Chen found herself at the focal point of the vast chamber. Chen sat alone at humanity's simple obsidian platform, surrounded by the elaborate hover daises and energy thrones of the senior species. She wore a tailored charcoal diplomatic suit that stood out starkly against the bioluminescent robes and living garments of the alien representatives. Until yesterday, they had barely acknowledged her presence. Now every sensory organ in the chamber was fixed on her position. The Council demands an explanation. That exiled Prime, Veridax, slammed a crystalline appendage on the floating central podium. Light cascaded through its body in angry pulses. How did humans conceal such advanced technology from our observation protocols? Chen rose smoothly, adjusting her collar. She had waited 18 months for this moment. Conceal. We concealed nothing. Your observers saw exactly what we wanted them to see. The chamber erupted in shocked murmurs and electromagnetic pulses of disbelief. A representative of the Mornasi collective, beings of sentient plasma, surged forward, their forms swirling with patterns of skepticism. We monitored your research facilities, your production centers, your educational networks. The Mornasi representative's voice crackled like controlled lightning. You monitored what we allowed you to monitor, Chen corrected. Did it never strike any of you as peculiar that humans were so transparently obvious about our technological progress, that we practically announced every minor breakthrough for your convenient assessment? The council chamber grew quiet as the implications settled over the assembly. Chen walked to the center of the room, her footsteps echoing in the silence. Above them, the artificial sky of the chamber swirled with uneasy colors. While you watched our public installations, our actual development continued in locations you never thought to examine. Deep ocean research bases, repurposed military bunkers from our earlier conflicts, research stations in asteroid fields you deemed worthless. Humanity learned long ago that being underestimated is a powerful strategic advantage. A diminutive Zenth delegate raised a scaled appendage. But the resources required, the energy consumption. Chen smiled. You believed we were wasting resources on seemingly failed experiments. Those were carefully crafted diversions. Every public setback masked a private success. The Defiant Dawn isn't merely a warship. It's evidence that humanity has mastered technologies you believed impossible for us to achieve for another century. The chamber's AI projected detailed schematics of the Defiant Dawn above the gathering. The ship's unique hull configuration seemed to absorb light in ways that defied conventional physics. Several technical experts among the delegates were already arguing heatedly about its capabilities. We demand access to this technology, Veridax stated firmly. Under Council Resolution 7293, all significant technological advancements must be shared for the collective benefit of member species. That resolution only applies to full Council members, Chen pointed out. Until today, you refused to grant humanity anything beyond observer status. You deemed us too primitive for meaningful participation in galactic politics. She raised an eyebrow. Perhaps you'd like to reconsider that assessment. Before anyone could respond, Chen's secure communicator chimed softly. She reviewed the message, and her expression shifted subtly. Interesting. It seems several of your outer colonies are already transmitting requests for human protection agreements. They believe our ships could assist with their ongoing security concerns. The Council erupted again, this time in genuine alarm. The smaller nations were already initiating diplomatic overtures with Earth. The balance of power was shifting by the minute. This is unprecedented. Veridax's body flashed with patterns of stress. You cannot simply arrive with advanced technology and demand. We're demanding nothing, Chen interrupted. We're offering opportunities, security partnerships, scientific exchange, cultural cooperation, all the things you denied us because you judged us as primitive. The choice to engage or decline is entirely yours. As if choreographed, the chamber's alert systems activated. 3 more human vessels had just emerged at different locations throughout the core systems. They weren't as imposing as the Defiant Dawn, but their presence communicated an unmistakable message. Humanity was here to stay. Chen returned to her seat, concealing her satisfaction as the council dissolved into chaos around her. Representatives of smaller nations were already approaching the human platform, eager to establish connections with Earth. The dominant powers of galactic politics were about to learn a difficult lesson about underestimating humanity. Through her secure earpiece, a channel activated. "How are they responding, Ambassador?" Captain Reese's voice came through clearly from the Defiant Dawn. "Exactly as predicted," Chen whispered. "They're simultaneously terrified, outraged, and desperate to negotiate. Should we inform them about the defensive network we're establishing?" Chen watched the political maneuvering unfolding across the chamber. "Not yet. Let them." The emergency alert system cut through the chamber like a plasma blade through atmosphere. Every screen and projection surface in the vast room suddenly flashed warning signals, displaying the same urgent message. Unknown energy, Psi-Gen HURES DTECTED. Outer perimeter barrier. The political arguments ceased instantly as fear permeated the chamber. "The Harbingers," whispered a Trellan delegate, their voice trembling. "They've returned." Captain Natalia Reese stood on the Defiant Dawn's command bridge, observing the tactical display with practiced composure. The approaching unknown fleet was larger than anything in the Council records, nearly 70 vessels of various configurations, all exhibiting energy signatures unlike anything catalogued in known space. "Status report," Reese ordered. "Unknown vessels maintaining formation at the system boundary," Tactical Officer Seto reported. "Energy readings suggest weapons systems unlike anything in our database. They're not matching any known configuration." Ambassador Chen is transmitting from the Council chambers. Communications Officer Asher announced. Priority channel. The main display activated to show Chen's face, the panic of the Council chamber visible behind her. "Captain, the Council is ordering a full evacuation of the core system," Chen reported. "These entities are called the Void Harbingers. According to very limited Council records, they appear once every few centuries, destroy everything in their path, then vanish. No defense has ever been effective against them." Reese nodded thoughtfully. "The real reason we're here." Chen's eyes widened. "You knew. Earth intelligence detected their approach 6 months ago. It's why we accelerated our timeline." Reese turned to her crew. "Deploy the quantum beacons. It's time to reveal our full capabilities." "Captain," Chen said urgently, "the Council is preparing to abandon the core. They're convinced fighting is futile based on historical encounters." "Then they're about to witness something historic," Reese replied. "Inform the Council representatives that the United Earth Fleet recommends they remain in place. We didn't come all this way just to make a political statement." The bridge officers worked rapidly at their stations as Reese opened a fleet-wide channel. "Attention all Earth vessels. Phase 2 begins now. Deploy quantum beacons and prepare for synchronized defense protocols." Across the core system, previously invisible devices activated. The small probes, secretly deployed by human scout ships over the past year, created a network of quantum-linked points throughout the region. On the tactical display, the network appeared as a web of blue light connecting dozens of strategic positions. "Beacon network online, Captain," reported Science Officer Weizhang. "Void Fleet will cross the perimeter in 5 minutes." Reese opened a channel to the Galactic Council. "This is Captain Natalia Reese of the United Earth Fleet. We have detected and analyzed the approaching threat. I strongly advise against evacuation. Remain in your current positions. The Earth fleet will demonstrate why humanity deserves a seat at your table." The council chamber fell silent as the tactical display showed more human ships emerging from dimensional folds. Not the handful they had seen earlier, but dozens. Small, fast attack vessels, mid-sized cruisers with unusual configurations, massive support ships with enormous energy signatures. An entire human fleet, hidden until this moment, positioned itself between the approaching Void Harbingers and the core systems. "Impossible," Veridax whispered, its crystalline body pulsing with shock. "How did you know they were coming?" Chen smiled slightly. "We've been monitoring dimensional disturbances for decades. We recognized their signature long before your sensors could detect them." She looked around at the stunned council. "This is the real reason humanity developed quantum-fold technology and advanced weaponry. We knew what was coming." As the Void Harbingers approached the outer defense perimeter, the human fleet moved into precise formation. The Defiant Dawn advanced to the front line, its massive hull beginning to glow with previously unseen energy patterns. "All ships, this is Captain Reese. Engage quantum link protocols. Prepare to demonstrate why humanity deserves respect in this galaxy." The mysterious Void Harbingers were about to discover they had made a critical error. They had never encountered humans before. The Battle of Meridian Nebula. Commander Marcus Stone moved through the corridors of the heavy cruiser Intrepid with purposeful strides, crew members snapping to attention as he passed. The ship hummed with pre-battle energy. Not panic, but the focused intensity of people who had trained relentlessly for this moment. "Status report," Stone ordered as he entered the bridge, the armored doors hissing shut behind him. "Quantum network synchronized at 97%, Commander," reported his XO, Lieutenant Commander Aisha Rahman. "The Defiant Dawn has taken position at the focal point. All ships report ready for coordinated defense." Stone nodded, taking his command position. Through the main viewport, he could see the Void Harbingers approaching. Dark, asymmetrical vessels that seemed to absorb rather than reflect the light of surrounding stars. Their hulls featured organic-looking protrusions that pulsed with an eerie violet energy. "Any response to our hails?" Stone asked. "Negative, sir," Communications Officer Chen reported. "We've transmitted on all known frequencies and protocols. No acknowledgement." Stone studied the tactical display where the human fleet had arranged itself in a mathematical pattern that would have appeared strange to conventional military strategists. Rather than forming a wall or sphere of defense, the Earth vessels had positioned themselves at seemingly random intervals, creating what appeared to be gaps in their formation. "The Council Defense Force is holding position behind our lines," Tactical Officer Rivera noted. "Their commanders are requesting our battle plan." Stone almost smiled. "Tell them to maintain their current positions and prepare to witness something remarkable." The bridge fell silent as the Void Harbingers crossed the invisible line that humanity had designated as the engagement boundary. For millions of years, these entities had appeared without warning, devastated civilizations, and disappeared back into the void between galaxies. No species had ever successfully repelled them. Today, that would change. "All ships, execute Prometheus Protocol," Stone ordered calmly. Across the human fleet, quantum beacons activated simultaneously. Energy surged through the network, connecting each ship in ways that defied conventional physics. The apparently random formation suddenly made sense. Each vessel formed a node in a vast, interconnected web of energy. The Void Harbingers launched their first attack, streams of particles that existed in multiple quantum states simultaneously, designed to bypass conventional shields by phasing through different realities. It was a weapon that had decimated countless civilizations before. Instead of impacting the human ships, the attack streams encountered the quantum web. The energy dispersed across the network, distributed among all connected vessels rather than concentrating destructively on individual targets. Quantum dissipation functioning at 89% efficiency, reported Science Officer Lai. Shield integrity holding across the fleet. Stone nodded, unsurprised. Phase 2. Deploy the resonance probes. Hundreds of small, unmanned devices launched from the human fleet, accelerating toward the Void Harbinger formations. The probes emitted precisely calibrated energy pulses designed to interfere with the unique frequency patterns of the Harbinger vessels. On the communication channels, Stone could hear the astonished reactions of the Galactic Council observers. How are they? This technology isn't possible. The humans are actually holding them back. The Void Harbingers adjusted quickly, altering their attack pattern. Several of their larger vessels combined energy outputs, creating a focused beam of destructive force aimed directly at the defiant Dawn. They've identified the network focal point, Ramen noted, tension evident in her voice. Stone watched calmly as the massive energy beam struck the defiant Dawn. For a moment, the flagship's outline blurred as the quantum shields absorbed and redistributed the energy throughout the network. The ship emerged unscathed, its defensive systems glowing brilliantly. All ships, transition to offensive pattern Delta, Stone ordered. Target the asymmetrical nodes on their lead vessels. The human fleet moved with synchronized precision, reconfiguring their formation while maintaining the quantum network. Specialized weaponry that had been hidden from Galactic Council observers for decades activated across the fleet. Gravitational disruptors, dimensional phase cannons, and quantum entanglement missiles. The first volley struck the Harbinger fleet with devastating effect. 3 of their smaller vessels destabilized completely, their strange matter construction collapsing into tightly compressed spheres before disappearing entirely. The Harbingers are adjusting formation, Rivera reported. They appear to be retreating. Stone shook his head. No, they're gathering for a concentrated assault. They've never faced organized resistance before. We've surprised them, but they're adaptive. As if confirming his analysis, the Harbinger fleet consolidated into a tighter configuration. Their vessels began to merge, physical structures flowing together like liquid metal until 20 smaller ships have formed one massive, nightmarish construct. Energy readings off the scale, Lai reported, genuine alarm in her voice. They're channeling power into some form of dimensional weapon. All ships, reinforce quantum network, Stone ordered. Divert all non-essential power to the synchronized shield matrix. On the defiant Dawn, Dr. Safe Reeves moved rapidly through the ship's central research bay, her team of engineers working frantically around her. Holographic displays showed the battle unfolding outside, the merged Harbinger vessels preparing their devastating attack. Nexus shield status. Reeves demanded, fingers flying across control interfaces. Power levels at 92% and rising, her assistant reported. But Dr. Reeves, the simulations never tested against an energy surge of this magnitude. Reeves flashed a determined smile. No simulation can account for everything, Kai. That's why we're out here instead of in a laboratory. She activated her direct line to Captain Reese on the bridge. Captain, the Nexus shield is ready for deployment, but I must warn you, this is unprecedented territory. So is this entire situation, Doctor. Reese's voice replied steadily. The Harbingers are preparing something that could overwhelm our current defenses. Is your system ready or not? Reeves took a deep breath, looking at the experimental device that represented 5 years of her life's work. Yes, Captain. On your command. On the bridge, Reese opened a fleet-wide channel. All vessels, this is Captain Reese. Prepare for Nexus shield deployment. Synchronize your quantum matrices precisely. The Harbinger superconstruct had completed its transformation. At its center, a swirling vortex of violet energy grew rapidly, distorting spacetime around it. Sensors across the human fleet registered dimensional instabilities expanding outward. They're attempting to create a localized reality fracture, Science Officer John reported. If successful, it could tear apart this entire sector. Reese nodded grimly. Exactly what the historical record suggested. Dr. Reeves, deploy the Nexus shield. Now. In the research bay, Reeves activated the experimental system. Nexus shield deploying. May the laws of physics be kind to us today. The defiant dawn pulsed with brilliant white light that expanded outward, connecting with every vessel in the human fleet. The quantum network transformed, no longer merely linking the ships but creating something entirely new, a collective field of coherent energy that expanded to encompass the entire battlefield. The Harbinger weapon discharge, releasing a torrent of reality-warping energy directly at the human formation. As it encountered the Nexus shield, something unprecedented occurred. Instead of attempting to block or absorb the attack, the shield bent around it, creating a dimensional lens that focused the energy back toward its source. "It's working," Reeves shouted, watching her instruments with disbelief. "The shield is redirecting their own attack frequency." The redirected energy struck the Harbinger superconstruct. For a moment, nothing happened. Then fracture lines of brilliant light appeared across its surface. The massive vessel began to break apart, its component ships struggling to separate as their own weapon tore them apart from within. All ships targeting solutions on those fracture points. Commander Stone ordered from the Intrepid, "Fire everything we've got." The human fleet launched a coordinated barrage, each weapon precisely targeted at the weaknesses created by the Harbinger's own attack. The effect was devastating. The superconstruct collapsed inward, dimensional energies imploding in a spectacular cascade of light and distorted space. When the sensor displays cleared, more than half the Harbinger fleet had been destroyed. The remaining vessels were scattered, their formation broken, their coordinated attack strategy shattered. In the Council Observation Center, the alien representatives watched in stunned silence. For the first time in recorded history, someone had not merely survived a Harbinger attack, but had actually defeated them. "Impossible," Veridax whispered, its crystalline form pulsing with astonishment. "No defense has ever." "The remaining Harbinger vessels are retreating," announced a Council tactical officer. They're actually fleeing." Ambassador Chen stood calmly amidst the chaos, watching the tactical displays with quiet satisfaction. "Now, perhaps, we can discuss humanity's place in galactic affairs from a more equal position." On the defiant dawn, Captain Reese studied the retreating Harbinger vessels. "Maintain pursuit vector. We're not finished yet." She opened a channel to Dr. Reeves. "Excellent work, Doctor. Your Nexus shield just changed the course of galactic history." Reeves looked at her team, exhaustion and exhilaration mingling on their faces. "Captain, the shield configuration is stable, but we've discovered something unexpected in the sensor data. The Harbingers, they're not what the historical records suggested." "Explain," Reese demanded. "Their quantum signature contains organic patterns. These aren't mindless destroyers or automated weapons, as the Council believed. They're alive, Captain. And based on the communication attempts we've detected during the engagement, they may be sentient." Reese's expression hardened. "That changes our approach. Commander Stone, adjust pursuit parameters. I want prisoners, not just victories." As the human fleet regrouped and prepared to chase down the retreating Harbingers, the Galactic Council faced a stunning realization. Humanity hadn't just saved them from destruction. They had accomplished what countless advanced civilizations had failed to do for millions of years. The balance of power hadn't just shifted, it had been completely rewritten. A new galactic order. The Galactic Council chambers had never been so crowded. Representatives from every member species and hundreds of previously ignored minor civilizations packed the vast hall, all eyes focused on the central platform, where Ambassador Ilara Chen stood alongside Captain Natalia Reese and Dr. Safe Reeves. 2 weeks had passed since the Battle of Meridian Nebula, and the galaxy was still reeling from its implications. "The United Earth delegation calls this emergency session to order," Chen announced, her voice carrying effortlessly through the chamber. "We have critical information to share regarding the entities known as the Void Harbingers and their place in galactic history." The chamber quieted as Dr. Reeves stepped forward. activating a holographic display that filled the center of the hall. It showed detailed scans of a captured Harbinger vessel, its strange architecture now partially decoded. For millions of years, you have viewed the Harbingers as unstoppable cosmic destroyers, Reeves began. Your historical records painted them as forces of nature to be endured rather than enemies to be defeated. Those records were fundamentally incomplete. The hologram shifted to show biological patterns extracted from the Harbinger vessel's core systems. The Void Harbingers are not mindless destroyers. They are sentient beings, refugees from a collapsed universe parallel to our own. Their incursions weren't random attacks, but desperate searches for resources they needed to survive in our reality. Murmurs of disbelief rippled through the chamber. Veridax, the Tildary Prime, moved forward, its crystalline form pulsing with skepticism. If what you claim is true, why have they never attempted communication in all the millennia they've been appearing in our galaxy? Captain Reese stepped forward. Because no one ever survived long enough to recognize their attempts. The energy patterns you interpreted as weapons fire contained embedded communication protocols, distress signals, and attempts at negotiation that your sensors were never designed to detect. Chen raised a hand, silencing the growing commotion. Through our quantum translation matrix, we have established preliminary communication with the Harbinger Collective. They are as surprised by this development as we are. For countless cycles, they believed our universe was hostile to their very existence. The holographic display showed new images, human scientists working alongside strange, fluid-like beings that seemed to shift between physical states. These were the true form of the Harbingers, extracted from their technological shells. We have negotiated a ceasefire, Chen continued, in exchange for helping them establish stable habitats in unclaimed regions of the galaxy. They have agreed to share their unique trans-dimensional knowledge with us, with all of us. The council erupted in a mixture of disbelief, hope, and suspicion. Representatives argued loudly about the implications, the risks, the opportunities. Through it all, the Earth delegation stood calmly, waiting for the chaos to subside. Finally, a Mornaci elder floated forward, their plasma form glowing with solemn colors. How did humans achieve what the oldest civilizations in our galaxy could not? How did you recognize what we missed for millions of years? Dr. Reeves smiled. Human history is filled with misunderstandings between different cultures, painful lessons about the cost of fear and the value of communication. When we looked at the Harbinger attacks, we saw patterns that reminded us of our own past conflicts, desperate actions rather than malicious intent. And your technology? A Trellan scientist demanded. The quantum network, the Nexus shield, these advances are beyond anything we believed possible for your species. We had motivation you lacked, Captain Reese explained. When our deep space observatories detected the dimensional disturbances 3 decades ago, we realized we faced an existential threat. While you believed us to be developing simple fusion drives, we were pouring all our resources into quantum physics and dimensional research. And we had another advantage, Chen added quietly. We were underestimated. Being dismissed as primitive allowed us to develop without interference or expectation. The chamber fell silent as the implications settled over the assembly. For centuries, the Galactic Council had maintained a careful hierarchy of civilizations, managing technological advancement across thousands of worlds. Humanity had just demonstrated the fundamental flaw in that approach. 3 months later, the massive Earth diplomatic vessel Horizon drifted alongside the newly constructed Harbinger habitat in the previously uninhabited Vega sector. The strange, crystalline structure housed over 10,000 of the dimensional refugees, with more arriving each week as the human fleet located and contacted scattered Harbinger vessels throughout the galaxy. On the Horizon's observation deck, Commander Marcus Stone stood beside Ambassador Chen, watching the habitat's lights pulse with beautiful patterns. The Council ratified the new charter this morning, Chen informed him. The Galactic Cooperative replaces the old hierarchical structure. All civilizations, regardless of technological development, now have equal representation. Stone nodded, watching shuttles move between the habitat and various alien vessels. Scientists from a dozen worlds were now working directly with the Harbingers, learning secrets of dimensional physics that would transform galactic civilization. "And humanity's position?" he asked. Chen smiled. "We've been asked to lead the cooperative's defense force and oversee technological exchange programs. It seems our unique approach to problem-solving is now highly valued." And the Harbingers? They've been granted full membership and assigned uninhabited systems throughout the galaxy where they can establish permanent settlements. Their knowledge of dimensional engineering is already helping us develop new FTL technologies. Dr. Reeves estimates we'll have stable wormhole travel within 5 years. Stone turned as Captain Reese joined them, her uniform now bearing the insignia of Fleet Admiral. "The Defiant Dawn is ready for departure," Reese announced. "The diplomatic corps has been transferred to the horizon, and our scientific teams are fully integrated with the Harbinger researchers." Chen nodded. "And our next mission?" Reese activated a holographic display showing a distant galactic cluster. Long-range sensors have detected unusual energy signatures from the Andromeda galaxy. The Harbingers believe it may be evidence of another dimensional refugee group, or something else entirely. Stone studied the display thoughtfully. Another potential threat, or another misunderstood civilization waiting for someone to understand them. "Either way," Chen replied, "humanity is now uniquely positioned to find out. The Council would have sent warships immediately, assuming hostile intent. We'll send scientists and diplomats first, with the fleet as backup." The three stood in comfortable silence, watching the stars. In less than 6 months, humanity had transformed from a supposedly primitive species to the linchpin of a new galactic order. "It's remarkable," Stone said finally. "For all their advanced technology, the Council species never learned the most important lesson from their own histories." "Which is?" Reese asked. "That understanding often requires perspective, and sometimes the newest eyes see what the oldest have overlooked for millennia." As the Defiant Dawn prepared for its journey to Andromeda, humanity's place in the cosmos had been forever transformed. They had arrived as uninvited guests and emerged as essential allies. They had faced the unknown with courage and comprehension, rather than fear and firepower. And in doing so, they had changed the galaxy's destiny forever. The stars awaited, and humanity was ready to meet them, not as conquerors or supplicants, but as explorers and peacemakers with the courage to see beyond the surface of things. Far beyond the edges of the Milky Way, something stirred in the vast darkness between galaxies. New eyes turned toward the strange new alliance forming in the spiral arm.